Okay, welcome to this week's conversations with Marléne and Pascale. So last week we were having a talk about embracing change, and following on from that, we thought it would be good to have a chat about actually doing what feels right for you and all of the difficulties, the different thought processes and emotions that go with embracing change, but actually doing something that pleases you, and how fraught and complicated that can be. For anyone that doesn't know us, my name is Pascale Lane. I'm a therapeutic relationship and confidence coach working with women to overcome relationship difficulties, confidence difficulties, and create the life they truly deserve. My good friend Marléne.
Hi, I'm Marléne Rose Shaw. I'm a therapist and a coach and a self-help author. And I want to say all the good stuff, because I often say that, don't I? You know, help people overcome people pleasing and get much better at boundaries and much better at feeling brave enough to speak up and say no and communicate well in ways that are kind to themselves and other people at the same time, and all the good stuff.
And all the good stuff. And that's what we're talking about today, actually, or all of the good stuff, which is meaty and often feels a bit complicated, feels a bit hard. But, you know, we were talking last week about embracing change, and you talk a lot about people pleasing, and we both talk a lot about boundaries. And so doing something that feels right, and actually it was something that you touched on last time, you know, doing something that feels right for you and how we navigate doing something that feels right for us that might not feel right for other people. And how do we know when to, because as women, this is what you were saying, we both say this a lot. I talk about it from a parenting point of view, very much. Obviously, because my children are at that age, you know, being selfless. We're selfless as women. We care. We so naturally care for others. We are the nurturers. We are the care providers. We support our children, our partners, our loved ones. And so when it comes to doing something that is just for ourselves, it can often feel like it goes against the grain. It can often feel like we're being very selfish. And so how do we know, Marléne, when it's important to do things for ourselves, when it's important to follow our own path and not necessarily do what's right? I'm not saying do wrong, but I'm saying not necessarily do right for everybody else, actually just to do right for yourself.
You know, I always say that our feelings are our friends, even if our feelings are unpleasant. Our feelings have our best interest at heart, and our feelings always tell us the truth. That's why our feelings are our friends, because they always tell us the truth. And if we're constantly feeling unhappy or uncomfortable in a situation, frustrated, just despondent, then we know those feelings are telling us that we're not living the life that we are meant to live, in whatever that may be. Feelings don't just sort of go away. We can squash them down, but they leak out.
They do.
They come out in funny ways. We can become depressed, we can become ill, we can become angry. You know, there's all sorts of things that happen if we try to squash those feelings away. So I think if you're constantly feeling some sort of negative feeling about something, it's a very good sign that, you know, it's like your inner being is saying, whispering, hey, you're not living your best life. Hey, hang on a minute, I gave you this life. What are you doing with it? You know, what do you want to do with it?
Yeah. I mean, but then sometimes living your best life means, I mean, where do we draw the line? I mean, you know, my clients come to me because they are at a crossroads. They're usually feeling stuck. So my client base is slightly different age bracket to yours. Mine tend to be in their 40s, late 30s to early 50s, and they've kind of reached a point in their life where they're, and we talked a bit about the menopause last time, so that usually comes into play, whether they realize it or not, but they've reached a point where they've cared for everybody else, and now they're like, well, what about me? You know, what about what I want? What about what I need? And they realize that their cup is empty, that their bucket's empty. It hasn't been replenished the way it should do. And so, and that's, you know, and that's a wonderful realization to have. But then that also means that you've had 40 odd years of conditioning of having an empty cup. And so filling that cup can feel quite uncomfortable, I think, for a lot of women.
Yeah, I mean, my clients are about that age, actually, somewhere sort of late 30s through sort of mid 50s-ish, late 50s. So, and they're very much the same. Yeah, the same thing, that they're very much at a point where they know that it's conditioning. They know that they learnt to people please in early years, and it's become reinforced and reinforced over the years. But they just don't know how to change that. So there's a kind of a battle, an inner battle going on between those feelings of, I'm just not happy, I deserve better, I want more, I want different, but my subconscious keeps running the same programs. And it's about that, isn't it? It's about helping people to let go of that subconscious programming so that they can look at, you know, what they want to do. There is also a balance. I mean, if you've chosen to marry somebody, then you've chosen to compromise in your life. If you've chosen to have children, then you've chosen to give over some, you know, a lot of your time and energy to be there for those children, even if they've become teenagers, even if they've grown up. There's still, you know, we make choices in our life. And it's about finding balance, isn't it?
Yeah, but very much about finding balance. I mean, 100% it's about finding balance. But it's also about understanding where that programming started. Because, you know, I don't think we can make lasting change. You know, one of the things that I feel very strongly about is that we don't get to make lasting change until we actually understand the root cause of those. And sometimes that can be a big deal, and sometimes it's not, actually. Sometimes it's just something somebody said 30 years ago or 40 years ago, and it's just become part of your fixed narrative. And once you uncover that, then you can change that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we're not talking about you know, like no, we're not talking about, you know, walking away and creating a completely different life. I mean, obviously, if that's on the program, then that's something that we can talk about. But more often than not, overwhelmingly, it's actually just about making changes that put you. And you know, I always say to my clients, Marléne, it's not about putting you at the top of the pile, forsaking all others. It doesn't mean that you everybody else falls down to the bottom of the pile because you're at the top of the pile. It means you get to be at the top of the pile too. You get to be up there as well. And actually, when you're up there looking after yourself, actually the great benefit is that actually everything improves when you are looking after yourself. So women often think that if I start looking after myself, something's got to give. But actually, it's the contrary. When you start looking after yourself, everything actually flourishes.
This is where I talk about conscious kindness versus misguided kindness, because misguided kindness is, oh, I better not be top of the pile because everybody else will suffer. But conscious kindness is, how can I find win-win situations for everybody here? It's about looking at the bigger picture. And it's true that so many people, women in particular, have this idea that if they assert themselves, then somebody else they'll be unkind, which is why I wrote How Kind People Get Tough, you know, or they'll be, you know, somehow or other they're being mean, or they're causing other people to suffer. And it's not a power struggle. It's not about one person being higher up than the other. It's about people, everybody being happy. Like you say, everybody being at the top. But we need to clear that. We need to clear those subconscious programs. That's why I use EFT quite a lot in my practice, pretty much with every client actually, and Matrix as well, Matrix reimprinting, because like you say, it could just be one thing that was said one time to a child, and we can go back and we can just clear, we don't clear the memory, but we clear what they started to believe at the time, so they don't believe that anymore. So they do feel able to say, well, I count too. It's probably the best 3 words to say it, isn't it? I count too.
Amazing. Okay, well, it's a short and sweet one this week, I'm afraid. We are out of time. I think we can talk about this again, though. I think to be fair, Marléne, I think a lot of our subjects come back to this in the end, because that's what we're so passionately about, isn't it?
I think we should have a tagline or a slogan called "All the Good Stuff."
All the good stuff. All the good stuff. Excellent. Okay, well, if any of this has resonated with you and you would like to have a chat, a no pressure chat with either myself or Marléne, do drop us a message or contact us on the links above or below this video, and we'll be very happy, obviously, to have a chat with you and see how we can help you. Marléne, as always, a pleasure, my friend.
Bye. I should wave, not put my thumb. Bye.